XDA Lance here again. We're going to learn, well, how to use our JSON authorized API and basically bind it into our Windows Phone app. What does that mean exactly? That means we're going to take our authorized information and tell it where to go. So we will bind photos from a user account and, of course, other elements. So stay tuned and let's get to it. Hey everyone, Lance here. So now let's get to this. We have a lot to cover here. We'll first start with our XAML file. And as you see, it looks very different from last time we did this. Why? Because we simply created a panoramic app. How did we do that? Well, let's go ahead and get into the source. As you see here, we created a panoramic app. The control rather. So we're going ahead and say, hey, from the controls we want panorama, or you could do pivot. In title, that is the actual thing you're going to see up top. Because it is panoramic, we can put a cool title instead of cheesy text block. So as we slide through, so does the name. So we'll go ahead and go back here. And we have one panoramic item called My Check-ins, which, as you see, it's very simple to create. 4 lines, technically, which 2 of them are automatically created for you. So you have your 1, 2, 3, 4. And inside the grid is what you would put. So we'll go down to our main item here, which is the header friends. Now, as you notice, we have everything lowercase. That's to meet the Metro style, basically, if I can even call it that anymore. And in this case, we're using a list box, and we're calling it the friend. In my case, I have none. But we'll go ahead and say, hey, item template, which it is a static resource, which I'll show you in a second, which we named friends template. Now, what does that mean? That means it's going to grab a style/look of what we already have as a static resource, and it's going to output that. So that, as you see here, we created the application page resource. We have a data template. And as you see, we called it friend template, which is exactly what our static resource down below is requesting. We have an image, which it's saying binding photo. Binding is exactly what it sounds like. It means, hey, I'm going to take something called photo and I'm going to put it here. And as you see, that's our source, because the source is a photo. Now, you'll only notice source on certain things, specifically like images. Otherwise, if you look down below, we have a text block, called text. And then again, we do binding, and then whatever it is that we want from the JSON API. So in this case, I just want first name and home city. And as you see, they're going to be right underneath each other. And the styling, you can do whatever you'd like. I've just made it to look more Metro looking. But as you see from our API, it's going to send in a whole bunch of information. And this is basically saying, I will only bind home city, first name, and I'll only put a photo here. But if it doesn't exist, then nothing will be filled out. So, again, like I said, item template, static resource, friends template, which was above, which means it's going to display exactly how we have it up above, which is nice. And then we have item source, binding, collection, which is fine. And again, you can resize the controls the way you want. As you see, I've done exactly that. But let's go ahead and get into our XAML.cs real quick. As you see, I have told the OAuth browser to collapse, aka not be visible, once we have a token. You'll also see the pan is our panoramic, which I labeled it. I'm saying, hey, make it visible. Now, why am I doing that? Well, as you see, it's visible right now, so we have to hide it in the beginning of the app. Could I hide everything right now? Absolutely, but we're just designing so we can see. Then, after we make it visible, let's go ahead and put some data into it. Get friends. Where's that? Well, right down here. And as you see, this right here is the request to get the friends of your current account, or you can replace that for whatever you want. And then we're saying add the token, which we receive up here, as you see, as it's highlighted. And as you notice, I'm using gzip web client. You could just use the regular web client that comes, but it's so much quicker to do that. And especially if you have a user that might have a bunch of friends, that means a lot of images and data. So the quicker it is, the better it is. So we went ahead and defined that, and we're saying once it's completed, please go down to here. And we'll get to that in a second. But to get there, we're saying download the string async, which in Windows 8 you'll notice async and whatnot is going to be very popular. And new URI, which we talked about. That's how you have to do things in Visual Studio. Well, I shouldn't say that. Mainly Windows Phone. To send a URI to a either, well, it doesn't matter. But I was going to say web request. Provider URI. So we're saying, okay, go download the string from here, which it's going to download the information. And again, once it has this information, it knows exactly to go down here. So if there's an error, go ahead and tell them the error. And then if we go down, we're going to label a stream in the memory stream, which Unicode. So we're going to get the bytes from the result, which right here, as we talked about it, that E has your information, and you can get a whole bunch of other items from it. As you as you see, you can get a whole bunch of information. In this case, we want the result. So now we'll go down here and serialize our friend.root object. Where is that? That's our class right here. Now I've already created this. There's websites that will do it for you. But as you see, this has all the possibilities you can have from the friend on that API. So we're going to go ahead and, as you see, serialize it from the read object of the stream, which right up there. But as you see, we went ahead and created basically, I guess you could say, almost an object in a way. So if it's null, give an error. If not, let's go ahead and take the friend.item source, which, if you remember, that is our list box that we've put down here. So the friend, and we're saying we want to put the item source of this, the provider result, which comes from here, response friends items. Now, you might be asking, well, what is that exactly? Well, that is basically saying, in fact, we can go through this. We want the response, we want the friends, and we want the items inside. And the items inside will be figured out by, obviously, our class. And obviously, as you see, it knows exactly what information we want. We want the first name, home city, and a photo. So, as we send this to the panoramic list box, if we go ahead and run the app, we should get my only one single friend. But let's go ahead and see. We'll give it a second, and as you see, because we had the token and it knew it, if we slide over, voila! Now it has our one friend, Joe, from Salem, Oregon. And as you see, we can slide through, which is the whole panoramic thing, which is really nice. And eventually, we'll make it so that if you click him, you can get information or see the latest things he's done. Obviously, you can take this and slide it up more, or do whatever it is that you'd like. But I'm Lance for XDA TV, and I hope this was useful. And if you like the source, please go to the forums. It will be there. Thank you so much.